here, but we really want you to drink up and eat up, and talk amongst yourselves. My name is Adrienne Johnson Williams, and I am thrilled to welcome you this evening on Martin Luther King Day to talk about some issues of justice. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I am here having this conversation, because this is not my place. I made my first visit to the Nail and Skin Bar on February 3rd, 2013. And I have been coming here, well, for the first year I was doing a lot of traveling, so Jocelyn, that's my tech over there, like, when are you coming back, when are you coming back, I had to get in. But I did the math, and I think I have been paid for over $15,000 worth of services in the 7 years that I've been here. My seventh.
I'm not knocking anymore.
Yeah. Seriously, my 7th anniversary is February 3rd coming up, and I am so excited to be able to say that, and I am proud to be a part of this community of sorts. I want to tell you a little bit about Yolanda Johnson, proprietor, and the reason why I learned more about her story and why I'm so dedicated to helping her make her vision come true. A few years back, what year was it that your lease? 16. Her lease ended at the corner of Cooper and Peabody, which was just a few blocks from my house, so I was really happy that's where it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And over the course of a year, while this place was being put together with all sorts of problems with code enforcement and all sorts of things, they traveled. These traveled all over the place. And we would say, where's my appointment? Where should I go? Where should I go? How do I get in? And some of these places were real sketchy. But the reality is that Yolanda's clients, you all's clients, the Nail and Skin Bar clients, went with her everywhere. So I don't know if you lost people, but I know that all the people that I was used to seeing, I still see, right? And that said a lot to me. And so I wanted to learn more about who this person is. And over the time that I had been here, I'd learned, like I'm from South Memphis, we had South Memphis in common, all these different things. But then when she started to tell me her story, I just thought, and what she wanted to do, I thought, well, absolutely. You are someone who can do this, because I fundamentally believe that people who live things are far better suited to helping us figure out solutions to problems than the people who are just really smart with lots of degrees who sit in rooms and say they know what's best. Mind you, I think we have some value too. But it's not the same thing. And I'm committed to centering lived experience, especially when it comes to women, especially when it comes to Black women in Memphis. And so I am very proud to introduce you to Yolanda Johnson. No relation. So she can tell her story, and then afterwards, I'll be back.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. A lot of people in here know me, a lot of you all don't. So this not public speaking, it's not my forte. So just bear with me. I'm a little nervous. But I've been a business owner for 16 years now. And if you had met me like at 21, I wouldn't have thought that this would be my story. I'm an ex-felon, and I started doing manicures, pedicures, and facials while I was incarcerated. It helped me pass time and also take a lot of financial burden off of my family. So I was like, oh, well, if I could do this in here when I get home, release, I can do it there. Well, the course I had to take then was the halfway house. And it's not really set up and designed to place you back in society where you can do things for yourself. It's basically, you have to work. Their main focus is they get a percentage of what you make. So the main focus is for you to get a job so that they can receive the 30%. And I had a long, 12 months that I had to do in a halfway house, and I didn't want to stay there for 12 months and not do something for myself. With that being said, it got kind of frustrating, and I wanted to kind of basically just go back and serve the rest of my sentence out and then come home and start over. And luckily, my counselor helped me, not do that. While I was in that process, they granted me permission to go to nail school. However, I had to find a nail school and a job with 40 hours. So, that was hard. So at that time, this is 98, so I got in the yellow pages and found a nail school, Tennessee Academy of Cosmetology, and the lady that I spoke with, I told her my story, and she basically worked the hours out for me. She got me morning hours part-time, and I went from 9 to 1, and I worked at Burleson Co. Factory from 1:30 to about 10 p.m. So I had a busy schedule for 12 months. And once I was released from the halfway house, I still had to go through the 3 years of probation stage and the 500 hours of community service that I had to do. So that was all included in the sentence. Basically what I want to do with the Nelly Skin Bar Institute is just kind of be like a pathway, a lifeline for the young ladies. Once they come home, a lot of times you don't have a vision, you don't know what you're gonna do, you have to start over from scratch. Some women may not have anywhere to go once they leave the halfway house. They have kids, so just thinking about a career is probably the last thing that they would even think about. So with the school, they'll get their manicure license, facial license, instructor license. Some of them will end up getting their own business like me. Hopefully that's the plan. We'll have transitional housing for the ones that don't have anywhere to stay once they leave the halfway house, just until they get off their feet. So that's basically the whole program, kind of like in a nutshell. So someone helped me, and I just kind of want to pay it forward.
So some of you may have already read the website, which has a little bit more information about why it is, I think, because I'm the one who wrote that, why I think this model has value, particularly in Memphis. So there's a lot of history around why we would have more and more women who are incarcerated, particularly in federal prison. There is plenty of evidence that shows us that if we invest in women, we invest in families and communities. That's true all over the world. I can show you libraries of data that show that. And yet in Memphis and Shelby County, we really don't have a way to invest in women. We don't think about it, we don't focus on it. Even the language of all of our reentry programs is really around men. And yes, there are a lot of men, and bless them, and we need to do that. At the same time, and we need to figure out how to support women who are really responsible for families and communities as well. We need some help. So the reason why you're here is because we need some help. Yolanda has a brilliant vision, and I have this much knowledge. I'm a really good learner. I learned a lot in the process of digging through websites and reading reports and things, but there's a lot I don't know. And I know we have a lot of knowledge in this county, and I know we have a lot of knowledge in this room. So I want to tell you a few things about what we need, and then have you all ask questions. So we really want to make sure that we're able to talk about what's real, the results, but we can't get access to data. We can't get access to data because incarcerated people are vulnerable populations, and you have to be a research institute or a government agency to get access to data so that we really know what the population is. So we need people who have that kind of access. We need knowledge, people who understand how these systems work. When Yolanda told me the story about how hard it was for her to do this, she was really light on it this time, but this idea of having to go all the way up the ladder into the federal parole system to get somebody to say, yes, you can actually go and better your life. That's a lot of work. We need people who understand that system because we can't get access to the people who know this. And the reason why that's important is because the resources to do this kind of thing are connected to the federal government. And people get contracts to run halfway houses. They get contracts to do community supervision. So the philanthropic lift for this work will be much lessened if we're able to get access to those dollars and those pathways. So that we need that. We also need, friends, right? We need people who can say, hey, we know you need to do this. Here's somebody who can help you. A startup social enterprise, and I really am resistant to the social enterprise label in general, but I think this is clearly one, because these women are going to be providing services and, and making money and building businesses. So in order to do this work, we're going to need, just like any startup, support. We can't afford to pay people to do things. What you saw on the website is the limit of my capacities there. Like, we need people who know how to do all the things that are necessary to get a business up and running. We're building a business plan now, which is a really, wow, anybody's ever put together a business plan? Like, I'm working on financial models for my own business right now, and I'm going, oh, good Lord. So we need help, right? We need skills. And yes, we will need money. And if you want to give money, we're happy to take it from you. But right now, what we're really trying to do is get the support to build out the model, to put together the business, and to get access to people and resources who can help us do that. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
I'd like to say something.
Oh, okay.
I'm Pete Mitchell, and I just wanted, Yolanda invited me here, and I just wanted to come in and say a word or two about Yolanda. I've known Yolanda for 16, 17 years, 18, maybe 18 years. And I saw her when she first came back into the community. And I met her then. And she had an idea to go into the nail shop. And she didn't have any money. And I loaned her some money. I made her a loan. And she took that loan, and this girl went in and got to work. She went in and she got to work. She worked, she was over at Union, at Peabody and Cooper. And she worked. And I came in 2008, and she was trying to pay the money back. She just couldn't pay it back because she didn't have the business sense to manage the money. So I got with her in 2008 and started managing her money. I don't know anything about money either. I just know. I just keep it simple. You gotta put it in the bank. And then when you pay people, you mean you have to pay the people and you pay last. That's all I know about business. I know that you gotta pay people, pay everybody first, and then if there's anything left, you can have that. But since 2008, I have been with her, helping her manage her business. And I've asked her to do a lot of tough, hard things. I've asked her to go without pay. I've asked her to go, work, and you don't make any money. And I handle the money. And you know what she's done? She has stepped forward every time. She said, if you say that's the way to do it, we're gonna do it like this. Well, I said that to say that if you can help Yolanda with this project here, with this program here, if you can help her, you will be helping a lady that's well deserving. Well, because I know she's gonna do the right thing with it. A lot of us we go in and we do these things just to try to grab some money and pay our late rent, But she ain't like that, That's what I'm here for. That's the reason I came in to say to you that whatever help that you can give Yolanda, I'm gonna stay with her. I've been trying to leave her for the last 3 years. I've been trying to get her out of my life.
Tell us how you feel.
Every Monday, I come here every Monday. I work the books, I do the taxes, I do everything. And, she ain't ever paid me. Maybe I'll get to the pearly gates because of your life. But if you can help her, any way that you can help her, support her, I think we will be doing ourselves a great favor, because I think she is deserving. I do it for her because she's so dedicated to this business, and she is wild about the idea of nail and skin institute. she feels like that this is going to really help some young ladies that's had some problems in the past. And as she said, most of the programs are for men. I've never gotten into it, but there are no programs. I don't know of any programs out there for women. I think this is just a wonderful thing, and thank you for giving me a minute to say that.
A question over here.
Do you have your 501c3? Are you still pursuing that? You have that in 18. Okay.
Other questions?
Okay, so you mentioned that one of your needs is data. And so you also mentioned about the federal government. So you need a pathway to the feds, not necessarily the local corrections data.
Right. So we're really looking at the federal pathway because of the kind of reasons why people end up in federal prison and the potential for kind of moving people into different pathways. The kind of nonviolent offenders primarily.
Right.
But in terms of data, we do need this. It doesn't have to be the federal government. Well, you don't have to get the people who have the data are the federal government.
Right.
The people who can get the data is pretty much any government agency. You can get it, for instance, or people in any higher ed institution.
Can the Shelby County Office of Reentry help?
That's what
That's
I was
right.
So yeah, possibly,
Right.
possibly,
Okay.
and that would be really helpful
It's
actually.
like the second chance programs that have a lot of that same data,
Mhm.
access to it. First, can I say something?
Yes, and you can say who you are too, so people know you are.
Natalie Robinson, longtime supporter. I used to come get gift certificates for everybody first for many years, and then finally I started taking care of myself. So I've been coming for many years. First, I want to say whatever you need. Whatever I can do. And as far as like the business plan, I know people that can help with that. So we'll talk. So just proud. Thank you. Sir, your investment. Well worth it. Thank you.
Amen.
I have a lot of questions.
Okay, keep asking. So say who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Dorcas Young Griffin. I work as the director for community services for Shelby County government. And I'm a spotty patron of the meal. And so, in terms of your pathway through the government, whatever you all need, like you give me a list, we will get it. I guess I just want to understand like priority, like you're working on the business plan, you already have your 501c3. What is the next big thing that's needed?
So we need. Well, I'm alive. Okay. So really, we really do need to really have a very firm business plan and financial models, because our ability to make arguments to get those really large resources that we would need, and to get at and to be able to have real conversations around federal contracts and things, we need to have that. And then shortly thereafter, we're gonna need to have a place to do this stuff.
Right.
So if you think about the pathway, the goal, and we may not be able to start at the beginning, but the goal is to be able to go in to talk to women in the pre-release stage, do some screening, decide who's gonna be eligible, and then make sure they have a place to stay when they get out. So like the halfway house model, I have to say this is kind of long-term, that part of it. The halfway house model is really profitable for people. And so it's hard to break into that revenue stream, but we'll need housing. And then a building to do the teaching and services. So those are the next kind of things after that. But we have to get that thing, so when we go to talk to people, it's like, we want to do this, we vetted it, we know it'll work, here's the plan.
You mentioned kind of why the federal
side of things, but I mean, have you thought about possibilities of looking, because obviously so many more people are incarcerated in the state system versus the federal system, and I'm just curious if you're open to working with people who are returning citizens from the state system.
Yeah, open to whichever one.
And I don't know about the blending of the houses, if there's possibility to be able to house people from different systems who are coming out. I know it has to do with parole and everything, but
That kind of knowledge.
okay. I'll do some research.
Thank you.
I found the question and it just left me. Or you would text me. You know I would.
So one other thing about the business model, the business plan, is the market research component. So one of the things that I am convinced of is that there are, convinced of it for a number of reasons. One, I know that Yolanda has several other owners of salons who are constantly reaching out to her for, do you have any girls that you've trained? I've said girls before, but apparently that's okay. Girls that you've trained, who can do this, because she's well known for being very good at training people, right? So I know that there's demand for her product, but I don't know enough about what local demand looks like. I do know that there are a lot of people like me who show up every 2 weeks, like clockwork, and spend away too much money, but proudly and happily to get our nails done. And quite frankly, if I could be a better client, I'd also get the other services about all the waxing and whatnot, but I can't manage to get that scheduled. But I mean, I know that the demand is there, and I'm just gonna be honest that the sectors around particularly Black women and things like nails, hair, waxing, aesthetics, we don't own that sector as much as we could and should, and there's a really great opportunity for increasing ownership of businesses in that area. And in Memphis, it makes sense to me, but we need help understanding what the market looks like, to be sure of how big this can be or needs to be. Another element of this, and this is really to Yolanda's credit, I think this is brilliant. I also know that it can be applied to other sectors, and that if this can be a model for how to do this in this county, then we've done something for women in Shelby County that we will see the benefits of for generations to come.
So Leslie Smith with Epicenter, nice to see you all. So yes, my head is spinning. What's interesting about the industries that you're talking about, Adrian, are that they're also place-based. So there's this huge opportunity to activate communities, places in communities, and then achieve subsidy through a whole series of programs that already exist to launch these businesses. Also, sources of capital to invest in those businesses. So I would love the opportunity to think about, to be involved in how you stand up your social enterprise, but as you launch businesses, sort of the where and how that we can find capital for that, to ensure that this gentleman is wonderful, but there aren't a lot of them, and we have some sort of, we have some pots of capital that we could line up to ensure that as women were ready to launch businesses, they were prepared to activate against that capital. And I think that's gonna be really important, as well as figuring out where we can activate in local markets, in spaces that will not be code challenges or escalating rent challenges, or, oh, by the way, you're kicked out this afternoon. So some properties where we can have more influence with the landlord sort of lessee relationship, so that your business owners have less challenges with that nonsense and can just focus on the business.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Oselin, a holistic health practitioner, In terms of social enterprise models, locally a Cup of Tea, and then in Nashville, Thistle Farms. They've both been extremely successful with target markets around empowering women. I know Thistle Farms does host workshops where people can come and understand some of the nuts and bolts of those, and so I just want to offer those as two possible resources.
And there is a local chapter of Thistle Farms here called Thistle and Bee.
Yeah, Thistle and Bee.
Yeah, we got you on to get to Nashville.
I went to
Quick.
workshop, it was
Oh,
awesome.
you've been already, okay.
So did you introduce yourself?
Again.
Okay, so just to say this, another reason why I asked Jackie come in is that one of the things we've looked at, what are the things that help women? And what's interesting is that there really is a very gendered approach, both to why women end up in prison versus men and what they need when they get out. And while the realities of trauma are true regardless of gender, the approaches to dealing with trauma for women during their process of reentry is different from what I've been reading, right? That's what I've been doing, a lot of reading. So I know we're gonna need, as we think about, and we were sitting in my old office with this chart paper up going, okay, what are people gonna need? They're gonna need a place to live, they're gonna need transportation, they're gonna need some therapy.
Amen.
Need, you know, like we're saying this, we're gonna need help. And counseling and support and those kinds of things. And so I invited Jackie, not because she's a therapist, Ebony's a therapist. Ebony's a therapist. Jackie, because she was my personal wellness coach. I highly recommend her because I'm happier and healthier because of her. And so this is what I mean by really bringing people together who have knowledge about very different aspects of this. Any other questions?
Not a question, but just one more comment. I think that, you know, we really need to get together soon. I think, so there are a lot of things that you need to put in place, like it's A, B, C, D, but I do think that you have the capacity to kind of pilot some of the work that you want to do with people that we're already working with through the Office of Reentry, through our Community Services Agency. Like if we can find a small cohort of like 5 women to just try to work with, I think that kind of data will be helpful in selling it to these folks that got money.
Yeah. We've also got a group out there that we really want to go after some money, but they require pilots and data and evidence of some effectiveness.
And I think we have that capacity to work with you all in doing that. So let's just do it. Sooner than later. I'll make up for my years. But we are all, I think, I saw her crying, I started to cry too. Just so proud of you. Oh my God, so proud of everybody here. Like, y'all are doing, you're not just doing nails, you're doing the work, you're doing ministry. And so thank you for letting us be a part of
Yolanda's yes, Yolanda is our therapist.
So are you gathering information today from people that we can help like throughout the process?
So
there's something I can do later.
this was a closed like invitation list, so we know who everybody is, and we're recording, and so we will keep track. We know who to get in touch with for our next steps. But also, if you have other, we're gonna do a follow-up email to give you some contact information, things like that. So if there are other people you wanna connect us to, other folks you wanna kind of put forward, that would be great. We're currently in the process of also building a board. I will not be on the board, so we're gonna need some really good board members. Because I feel like this is kind of a relay. I'm gonna be like, next. I'm still gonna be there, cheerleading, but so if anybody here thinks that they would like to be on the board, but we can talk about that. But we'll also be doing that work. Do you have anything you want to say before we?
No, thanks everyone for coming out.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, Google, resume.